Hi guys! Can you believe I am 35 weeks pregnant today? I can't believe that. It seems like crazy to me that I am so close to the end. 35 weeks, according to my app, my pregnancy app, means that the baby is about 5.5 pounds, which seems massively big to me. I can't even believe it. I mean, some babies are born at 5.5 pounds, so she's really getting big. In terms of length, they say about 20 inches long, so yeah, I've got a pretty big baby in there and I can definitely feel it. I continue to feel her movements more strongly, and they're definitely becoming more and more painful. Not always, and not a bad kind of pain. I still love feeling her kick, but definitely you can tell there's a big baby in there because there are times when she'll do certain things like either stretch out really. I mean, it kind of feels like she's stretching her arms up and her legs out at the same time. And like her arms are hitting my ovary on one side and her legs are hitting my ribs on the other, and it's just really uncomfortable. I don't know how to explain it other than it feels like that feeling you get when you get a muscle spasm in between your ribs. Do you know what I'm talking about? That feeling of like a tight spasm that happens in between your ribs. I get that pain like on my belly, around my belly button, and like the front of my belly. When she pushes her foot out, it just feels like a muscle spasm. So yeah, her kicks are definitely becoming more distinct and her movements are strong because that's a big baby in there. Other than that, and as far as symptoms go, and this is something that actually started happening maybe 2 weeks ago and I forgot to mention it, so I'm going to mention it now, and that is itchy skin. So I read about this, that when you get to a certain point in pregnancy, your skin starts to itch because it's like stretching, and I hadn't experienced it when I read about it, so I was like, oh no, I don't know that. Well, all of a sudden it hit me and it sucks. It's really itchy. So I'm still getting a lot of stretch marks. I'm trying to do everything I can in the book to prevent that from happening or to make it better, but I really think that stretch marks are genetic, and I know that my mom got crazy stretch marks when she was pregnant, and I'm just so prone to stretch marks anyway, even before pregnancy. I feel like it's genetic and I don't think I can prevent it. I definitely am trying to do things to maybe make it a little bit less bad, but yeah, the stretch marks are happening, the itchy skin is happening, and the heartburn is still happening. I am trying, I drink peppermint tea thanks to a suggestion from one of my viewers after I eat, sometimes if I feel like I'm going to have heartburn, and I feel like the peppermint tea definitely helps. It's soothing, but I still have an issue with heartburn, especially late at night before I go to bed. Sometimes just lying down, it just feels like, ugh. So yeah, itchy skin, stretch marks, and heartburn, and besides that, painful belly. So either from the baby moving or when I move, lying down in bed now, if I want to move from one side to the other, it's really painful, and sometimes I feel like I can get a contraction. If I'm laying on one side and then I quickly move to my back or over to my other side, my whole uterus will tighten up and it hurts. And I definitely feel like I've given myself a contraction from like moving so fast. So anyway, I think I'm at the point in pregnancy where all of this stuff is normal. My doctor doesn't seem concerned. So yeah, I had a pretty good week this week. As you can probably tell, am almost completely over that cold that I had last week, which thank God that I'm over that, because, a cold's just a cold. But when you're in your third trimester of pregnancy and you already feel like crap, having anything extra on top of that, it was miserable. So I'm really happy that I'm feeling better. Like I said, I feel like I'm almost completely better. I still just have like a little bit of nose blowing here and there, but I'm totally on the mend, and I'm really glad about that. I had another doctor's appointment yesterday. The doctor's appointments are going to become much more frequent now. So I'll probably have doctor's appointments to talk about every update from now until I give birth. But basically, I had another NST and everything went fine. This time she was sleeping when I went in. The first time she was awake, and so it was like really easy to get the things that they needed to see. But this time she was sleeping, so they had to do a little bit of prodding, and they had to put this thing on my belly that makes a loud sound and a vibration. It's like a zzz, and it woke her up, and I feel bad that they had to do that. I don't know why, she's probably fine, but they had to wake her up, and it was fine. When she was awake, they got the heart rate to go up like they needed it to do. So the NST went well, and then also my doctor's appointment following the NST was pretty uneventful. It was quick. She just, measured my fundal height, and she felt my my belly to feel the baby and sort of get an idea of the size of the baby, felt where her head was, all of that stuff. But she said something really reassuring to me right when she had like the measuring tape there. She's like, yep, you're measuring exactly where you need to be. And she was like, man, you're like an ideal patient. Everything is just measuring out exactly like the textbooks say. And then she felt, the size of the baby, and she's like, yep, the baby feels like a good size too. It does not feel too big to her, which is one of the fears since I'm diabetic. And so it just made me leave the office feeling so good. Like, she just referred to me as a textbook patient, like no complications basically is what she was saying. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, but having type 1 diabetes, if you're a female, probably all of us at some point have been scared of the idea of getting pregnant and having a healthy pregnancy, because when you're diabetic, you grow up with people telling you horror stories, with doctors scaring you about, the possible side effects of a type 1 diabetes pregnancy, and it's really scary. It's like you think to yourself, will I ever be able to do this? Will my body ever allow me to have a healthy pregnancy? And so to be here at the end of my first pregnancy as a diabetic, and to have my doctor tell me I'm like a textbook patient, I'm an ideal case, it just felt so reassuring, so good. Like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe this has all been so smooth. So yeah, that was really, really nice to hear. And yeah, one other thing I want to talk about in today's update, because I haven't really talked about it a whole lot, especially recently. I have not talked about it at all, and that is her name. I don't know if any of you guys are curious about what's going on with the naming situation, but let me just put it this way. So my husband and I are the type of people who like to think through everything we do. We don't really make a lot of decisions on impulse. We like to weigh out all of the options, and it has been no different when it comes to naming this baby. So when I had my anatomy scan at 21 weeks and I saw her face and I found out it was a girl, I had a name that came to me, and I saw her and this name sort of stood out to me, and I thought, she looks like a but it's the first name that I thought of after I found out it was a girl. So you can't just pick the first name or at least you can't choose it right when you think of it and then rule out all other options, right? So since then, what we've been doing is making lists and lists and lists of every single possible girl name idea we can think of. We've had brainstorming sessions. I mean, we've looked through naming books, and yeah, it's been a long ordeal. And basically what we've decided to do is neither one of us feels comfortable naming her before she's born. Like, we just don't feel comfortable deciding, because once we decide, it means that all other options are off the table. And what if, by deciding too early, we miss out on the right name? So I just wanted to mention that that's where we are with that. She will have a name when she's born. Like, I'm not worried about that, because we've definitely narrowed it down. And the point where we're at right now is I feel like we both kind of know what her name's going to be, but we are not at a point yet where we want to decide and say, yeah, this is going to be her name. We really want to see her, and for her to be here and just look at her face and say, yes, this is her name, before we decide that. So I just wanted to let you guys know, and that's why I haven't announced the name, because I myself don't know for sure what her name's going to be. All right, the last thing that I want to talk about is just in the type 1 diabetes realm of things, or I guess any diabetic would be affected by this. But for any of you out there who are planning on getting pregnant, or are pregnant right now but maybe at an earlier stage, and if you have diabetes, just a word to the wise. This whole heartburn thing, which I talked about in the beginning, it's related to the fact that when you're pregnant, your digestion slows down a lot. So I've read that the increase in progesterone in your body when you're pregnant slows down your digestion. And I've also read that the reason for that is because a slower digestion allows for your body to take out all of the nutrients from your food to give to the baby. So there's like a reason for the slowed digestion. But as a diabetic, having a slow digestion makes it really hard to bolus for your food, because as a diabetic, there needs to be some predictability about when your food is going to hit you so that you can time your insulin. Whether you're on an insulin pump or taking shots, you need to be able to time the insulin so that when the insulin is working in your body, the food is also working in your body. You see what I'm saying? Like if the food is just hanging out and not being digested, it's just like digesting super slowly, your insulin is going to start working anyway. It's going to make your blood sugar low, and then you're going to have to correct the low, and then by the time your food digests, the insulin's out of your system. So that has been a complication for me, and I've found a way to deal with it, but my biggest problem area with blood sugars have been overnight, and that is because when I go to bed, I feel like all of my food from the day is just still sort of lingering. I haven't digested it fully. And so that I know that when I'm asleep, my body's going to continue digesting food, and my overnight shot is not going to be enough to cover it. So what I've ended up doing in order to control my overnight blood sugars is I actually give myself a shot of short-acting insulin, of R. That's the insulin I give myself when I eat my food. So I actually give myself a couple units of short-acting insulin on top of the long-acting insulin in order to cover the late digestion that happens. So anyway, that's just a little word to the wise, that this slow digestion, it doesn't just make you constipated and give you heartburn. If you're diabetic, it also makes your blood sugars screwy. So good luck with that. And again, frequent monitoring and checking your blood sugar will help you figure out what's going on and make it possible for you to dose your insulin accordingly. But yeah, so that's my little note for my diabetic viewers. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching my 35-week update. I'm really in the last part of this pregnancy. I can't believe, I basically have one more month before we start talking about delivery. So yeah, it's really crazy. And for those of you who've been watching all along, I really appreciate your support. And everybody who leaves comments, you guys have been so supportive, and thank you so much. I don't know if you understand how much it means to me to have your support and just all the nice things you say. It's been so nice for me. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm going to end with a belly shot, but I'm going to say goodbye now. So bye, I'll see you in my 36-week update, and here's the belly shot. Here it is from the side. What do you think? Does it look as massive as it feels? Bye guys.